Hey, Algebra 2. Let's see. This is the homework video for day 1, going over the homework for these practice problems. So, yeah, my phone, I don't know, it shut down, so partway through. So I'm just going to pick up where we left off here. So let's see, we had to do these. This is going back and forth and matching which ones. So I'm keying in on knowing that we would be doing this like double distributive property. We would be doing an x times an x. So this is going to have an x squared that's on its own. So it's either these. And then when we keep thinking about that, I know the 2 would also get multiplied by the 6. And there's no x's involved, so that our constant term would just be a 12. It's likely got to match with this one. And here's the other thing. As we do x times 6, we get 6x. And as we do 2 times x, we would get 2x. And that would combine to make the 8x. That absolutely just verifies that those are the match. With the rest of these, it doesn't say that some of them won't match. So I'm just going to pair them up looking at what's the first term and the last term. So 2x times x would make a 2x squared. And an 8 times a 2 means our constant term would be a 16. Oh man, all right, well I said I wasn't going to keep going, but now I gotta do that to find the middle part. Okay, 2x times this 2 would make 4x, and that would be a term that just has an x, and the 8 times the x. So if I multiply these outer ones, these inner ones, these gives us the parts that will combine. 8 times x is 8x, and 4 plus 8. Let's see, that makes us 12, so B is going to match with this one. Keep going with this one. C will be our match here, and D will be our match here. Okay, writing these from factored form to standard form, this is where we want to go, okay, we're going to have something with an x squared, and plus or minus something with an x, and then just a constant term. So x times x would make an x squared, so there's just one x squared. It's not going to have anything in front of it. And then, okay, x times 3 would make a 3x. I'm going to write it here because I know I'm going to have to combine it with the 7x to get 10x plus 10x. And then 7 times 3 would be 21. I need to put a plus there, plus 21. So looking at that for our answers, remember we are doing the FOIL method. So first, outer, inner, last, which is the same as double distributive. So distributing this x to that to get an x squared, this x to 12 to get a negative 12x. Remember, I'm writing that one here knowing I'm going to have to combine it with negative 2 times x, negative 2x. That makes negative 14x. And negative 2 times a negative 12. Remember, this minus sign sticks with that number. Is going to make a positive 24. Okay, and this one, let's see, I'll hold off on this one. We'll come back to that, finishing the thought process working with these. 2x times x would be 2x squared. 2x times 7 would be a 14x. And negative 1 times x would be a negative 1x, and negative 1 times 7 would be negative 7. So I know the last term is going to be a minus 7, and 14 minus 1 would be 13x. So that's our combined answer here. This one right here, I ask myself, what times what would make an x squared? Well, that would be an x and an x. And what would multiply to make an 8, but then add to make a negative 6? Well, if it's negative, that means both numbers here have to be a negative to multiply. A negative times a negative would multiply to make a positive 8, but then they have to add the 6. And really, I could do 1 times 8, but that's not going to, if it was a negative 2 and a negative 4, both of those would add up to a negative 6. Okay, flipping the packet over, let's see, the next chunk that you had to do was just identifying whether things were in standard form, factored form, or neither. So factored form is like this one, where we just have something times something. This is correct factored form, okay, is one of them. This one, where it's just written out, is a standard form. This one, where it's like part factored, but then it also has something added on, that's a neither. And this one down here is just everything written out. It's okay. It's the same as 4x squared plus no x's minus 9. This one is also in standard form. Okay, pretty easy. See, pretty easy. Fill out the diagram, show that these are equivalent. Well, this would just be putting the x minus 10, the x minus 3, and doing our x squared, our positive 30, and our negative 10x, and our negative 3x. That's super fast, but it's proving that this, when we distribute it out, double distribute it out, is equal to this thing. We're done. For each expression in factored form, write an equivalent expression in standard form. Okay. This one I'll hold off on, but this is just saying, hey, x times x is x squared. Take the same x times a negative 1 will be a negative 1x. I'm writing that tiny here because 1 times x will also be 1x, and negative 1 and positive 1 make nothing. They cancel. Both of those cancel. And then 1 times negative 1 would be negative 1. That's our answer for that one. And again, you know, maybe I do the little arrows thing. 2x, so we get a 2x squared. 2x times a negative 3 would be a negative 6x. Negative 6x. 4 times x would be 4x. And 4 times negative 3 would be negative 12. And I should combine these to make a negative 2x. So our final answer would be 2x squared minus 2x minus 12. This one, what is this telling us to do? This is telling us to take an x minus 2 and multiply it by another x minus 2. That's all. So we do our double distributive. First terms, outer term. Okay, so x squared, outer terms would be a negative 2x, inner terms would be another negative 2x to add up to a negative 4x. And the last terms, negative 2 times negative 2 would be a positive 4. And so that's our solution for that. Okay, rapid fire going over stuff. Here's the good thing, is that this next page is one where kind of have all the answers ready to go here. I'm not going to go over this too much because in each class I really tried to make sure that we did this one in class. You can kind of pause the video on those. And most classes I did not have a chance to go over this, but I gave you a chance to start this in class. Let's keep going with that FOIL method, taking this and turning it into standard form. We're doing 2x times 2x, which is 4x squared. I'm going to do the last term. Negative 3 times negative 7 would be positive 21. And then we would be doing 2x times negative 7 to get negative 14x, and negative 3 times 2x to get negative 6x. Combining that, we would get a negative 20x. All right, and factoring. Now this is where we got to use our brain here. So, well, what would make an x squared? Probably an x and an x. What would make an 18 to multiply and make an 18? Well, that could be a 1 and an 18, but that's not going to add up to 9. 2 and a 9, that's not going to add up to, okay, 3 and a 6, 3 and a 6. If I do a plus 3 and a plus 6, that will add up to 9 and multiply to 18. We're good. You can check it. We're good. This next one is going to take a little more thought because we're going to have to break a 3x and an x up. And then to multiply to make a negative 8. So to make a negative 8, I have to have multiples that might be like negative 1 and an 8, or a 1 and a negative 8, a 2 and a negative 4, or a negative 2 and a 4. That's all the possibilities, really. So we got 4 possibilities, and I don't know where they go. So here's the thing. I know one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative, but when they add up, I'm going to have a positive 10. So that's what I'm keeping in the back of my mind. Is I'm keeping this in the back of my mind as I try these out. I don't know the answer, so I'm trying the first one. Let's say I put the negative 1 here and the 8 here. I would be doing negative 1 times x eventually, and 8 times 3. That would be too big. So if I flip them, let's put the 8 here, and that I'd be doing positive 8 times x and negative 1 times 3. But when I combine that, I'm not going to get 10. Okay, so let's, even if I switch the signs around, let's try the 2 and the 4. So let's see. If I put the 2 here, I have a 2x, and if I put the 4 times 3, I get 12. 2 and 12. The 4 definitely goes here. The 2 definitely goes here. Now I just need to decide the signs. One's positive, one's negative. So when I want a positive 10, so I want that 3 times 4 to be positive so that I get that 12, and 2 times x, negative 2 times x, Yeah, that's going to work. All right, this last one down here. Let's see. I'm going to cheat. Just going to look at my answer key here. Piecing this one together, this 4x squared could be broken up into a 2x and a 2x. It happens that this one is broken up into a 4x and an x, and a 3 and a -5. This is one that if it took you too long and you gave up on it, I'd understand it. Absolutely understand. Last page, we got a lot of time here on stuff. This last page is just going over the same thing, paying attention to signs of stuff. So in order to multiply to make a -54, we're going to have the 18 and the 3, one of them be positive, one of them be negative, but I need it to add up to a -15. That's telling me that this has got to be the negative number, and this is a positive 3. When they add together, they'll make that. Okay, we look at this next one. 54 is positive, and this is positive. It's likely that these both have to be positive, and 18 plus 3 would make 21. So there we go. Good. This one, negative again. Okay, so if you notice, all the things, everything is the same. We're just deciding what to do with the signs. So if we got a negative here, that means one's got to be positive, one's got to be a negative, but I don't know which is which. If I want a positive 15, the 18 would have to be positive, and the 3 would have to be negative to add up to that. And they will multiply to be a -54. Now here, because this is positive, but this is negative, that means that both numbers need to be negative in order to multiply to make a 54, positive 54. And -18 minus 3 more would make -21. All right, and this last one, you were given clues, and it's just working through it to kind of find out those last parts. So here, so let's see, it's like 4, or let's go back to this one. So x times x, yep, x squared. X times this would be a negative 3x, and then -9 minus 9x. These combined would make a -12x, and -9 and -3. That would multiply to become a positive 27. Okay. And the next one, well, all right, kind of similar format. We got the x squared part. We got this part, so we can just focus on the end. 4 times what is going to go here? Well, I guess we can't. We do need a little more information. It's more that 4x plus what number makes 12x? This would have to be, let's see, what would it have to be? It'd have to be like an 8 and 4, because we get an 8x and a 4x that would add up to 12x. So now 4 times 8 would be 32 for that part in standard notation. Looking at these, okay, we have everything we need. We're just trying to pick out what parts go here. So we got a 2x in this. There we go. Oh, sorry, my phone almost shut down again. So, it's low battery mode. I'm an idiot. I'm gonna plug it in, and then it won't stop my video. And all right, keep going. Okay. So this is one that we got to kind of play around with numbers. To get a 15, it's likely going to be a 5 and a 3 that get multiplied together. But one of those numbers, to get this middle part, will get multiplied by just an x, will be just itself. The other one will get doubled. So to get to an 11 from this, I would want the 5 to stay, and I want the 3 to get multiplied by 2x to double to make 6x, and then 5x would make 11. Okay. All right, so similar thinking here. We kind of have everything. This part, so if we were to break this up and just go, okay, we got a 3x squared, and we got a -11x as the combination, but we don't know what this is. But we know that there's a 3x and an x minus 6, and we're trying to find out what's this number. If we look at this, we got a lot of missing stuff, even if we look at it that way. So we honestly got to play around with this a bit. So using some logic here to get to this 11, I know that we're gonna have this times this, and we'd have 3 times -6. 3 times -6, that would make -18x. But to get an 11, let's see, 3 -18x, we can figure that out. To get a -11, this has to be a positive. And how much does it have to be? It has to be a positive 7x. So this has to be a 7. So this has to be a 7. And then we do 7 times -6 to get this last part. And that would be a -42. Holy moly, that's everything. 15 minutes, probably 20 minutes worth of videos for this first day. So if you missed class, you missed a lot. If you were in class, you notice that a lot of this is review of stuff that we've been doing, but we're trying to build up your fluency, your speed at looking at patterns. All right, take care, folks.